back. This is Esther Kalenzi, and you're listening to my podcast. How are you? How are you doing? How are things going in your life? I hope that whatever you're putting your mind to, you're actually seeing the fruits of your labor, and that you're finding ways to sprinkle some joy into your life. Today, I would like to talk about writing. I'm such a huge advocate for writing and the different ways in which it sort of improves our lives. Subtle ways, sometimes not so subtle ways. And I wanted to share a few of the ways in which writing actually helps me. The first one, which is really simple, and I think most of us do, is to-do lists. I don't know what I would do without to-do lists. In fact, if I haven't written it down in my to-do list, it's very unlikely that it's going to happen. Putting these lists together, whether it's a daily basis or a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, just helps me to keep organized, and it reduces the anxiety of what are we going to do today, what are we going to do tomorrow, because if I already know beforehand, then it's going to help me to prepare. But also, if someone comes and adds a responsibility that wasn't already planned for, then it's easy for me to put it aside and maybe postpone it because I already know what I'm going to do from the beginning. They are quite helpful also in terms of giving you clarity, because you're able to prioritize and know what needs to be done faster, what's more important, and what can be passed on to the next day. It's not uncommon for me to write a to-do list, let's say, of 6 items, and then by the end of the day, I've decided to do only 3 because I know maybe the last 3 are errands that I can run on any other day, and yet the others have deadlines or there are things that need to be finished in time. So if it's not something that you incorporate daily or frequently, it's something that I strongly recommend. It doesn't have to be fancy or anything. It can be on any gadget or paper or book that works for you. And I can tell you that ticking off those milestones or the things that you want to do kind of give you motivation. So after you've ticked off the first one, the second one, the third one, at the end of the day, it gives you some sort of accomplishment. Of course, there are days when we are not able to actually accomplish the tasks that we set out to do, and that's perfectly okay. It's also important to give yourself grace, because at the end of the day, you're only human, and there are lots of things that are not in our control that are likely to come in the way. But at least you know that when you get back on track, you know where to begin from, simply because you had this tool, the to-do list. The second one is actually writing goals down. And I know that many times we associate this with the beginning of the year, whether it's planning for the year or making a strategic plan for our next couple of years. It's also important to set short-term goals, just small goals. I want to buy a new pair of shoes by this date. I would like to take a trip by this date. And writing it down it gives you the picture of what you actually want to do. It helps you to visualize, as opposed to keeping it in your mind and then you don't know when you'll come back to it. Having a place where you can look at it daily, or maybe not daily, as often as possible, maybe you're flipping through a page, or it's actually even on your wall, will help you to continue to remember. So for example, if you say that you want to start a master's program and you write this goal down, then you can break it down into looking for a university that's going to carry your program, finding scholarships. Maybe you're going to pay for it yourself. Then you're going to save. How much are you going to save monthly? How much do you want to save at the end of the year? This is going to give you a picture of what to expect and also to start working towards it. So for me, this is something that I do whenever it comes to my mind. It doesn't have to be on a specific date. And just writing down the goal is a beginning point. Then later, when I have more time or when I'm ready to actually work on it, I can now sit and think about, what do I need to do to achieve this goal? Look for the resources, the people that I need to talk to, the research that needs to go into it. I can't tell you the number of things that I've written down and months, years have passed and I've come back to them, including this podcast itself. But knowing that it's there somewhere, I know that I'll come to it at some point. And lots of time we put pressure on ourselves. Sometimes it's not us, sometimes it's society or our parents or our loved ones, or just looking around and seeming like you're being left behind. But I truly believe in timing, and it's really never too late. So write those goals, even if you don't achieve them this year, just write them and make a mental note of when you will actually start on them. And there's lots of things that can come up along the way. You might be talking about it with someone and they say, hey, let's partner on this. You might be talking to someone and they say, I would like to fund a project like this. Or you hear someone talking about it and you already wrote it. So let's say you have a concept note for something. The moment someone says they're looking for someone like you, you have already done half the work and you can send it to them. They look at it and suddenly you're in business, as opposed to keeping it in your mind. And then one day you wake up and someone has developed something that's quite similar to what you had in mind. Now you're like, oh, that was my idea. I also wanted to do it. There's no evidence of it. No one even saw it. But still, it's never too late, because I also know that there is space for all of us. So whatever it is, I encourage you to write it, because future you is looking forward to celebrating you achieving those goals. And now the final one, which is quite possibly my favorite, and that's journaling. This is a gospel that I'll preach forever and ever, and that's because journaling has been one of the best tools for my mental wellness for a very long time, even before I knew what I was doing. I encourage journaling because it's really your own safe space, and this is a place where you can write just about anything. It can be how your day was, it can be who you talk to, it can be about your relationship, it can be about work, it can be just about anything. And I encourage people to not think too hard about the format or how pretty the notebook is, although it's nice to have pretty notebooks, or what pen you're using. Just plan for it. If you have the urge for it, then do it. If you can, put it in your routine just like you do everything. If you work out, then you can say, maybe I journal in the morning before I work out. If it's something you do at the end of the night, and it can be just as simple as writing 5 things you're grateful for, make that 3. You know what? Let it even be 1. Just starting that small routine can significantly improve your life, because sometimes life is just throwing lemons every which way. But if you sit down and actually document what you're grateful for, you're going to realize that there is still something at the end of the day, despite the world falling apart or all of the things that are going wrong. But also it can help you to decompress. Personally, it helps me to decompress, especially after a long day. It can come with some peace of mind after knowing that I've put these thoughts to paper. And when you come back to look at it, you will find that, hey, there's a situation that I didn't handle well, so I need to be the one to apologize. Or you look and you see that for several months you've been talking about the same person or the same thing that has made you lose peace, and then you realize that you need to do something about it. Either you're going to raise it in a conversation, or you're going to let go completely. Whereas if you just kept it in your mind, you might forget. Yeah, something else might come up, and then you will not really remember the gravity of your feelings in that situation. But when you document it, it's quite easy for you to go back and then look at it. It has several benefits, and while it's not something that many people find easy, I think that it's important for us to sort of find what works, you know? If it's not working for you, why isn't it working for you? No matter what you need to write, do it as comfortably as possible, or tie it to something you already do. So let's say you spend a lot of time on your phone. You can use whichever notes app that you use on your phone. You can do it on a computer. You can do it in a book. If you have a workbook where you take your notes or minutes, you can just turn to the back and then write what you're grateful for, or write your goals. Something that you can carry around and keep looking at. This is something that I would like to hear from you about. What are the ways in which writing has improved your life? What are the things that you've tried before and they have worked? What have you tried and it hasn't worked? What are you willing to try? And you can let me know all about that. Send me a comment, send me a DM, send me an email on yearsofthephoenix@gmail.com, and let's keep this conversation going. Happy writing! Also, before I go, I have to remind you, as always, that if you'd like to support the work that we do, you can do it in any of these ways. You can follow 4040, which is 40 Days Over 40 Smiles Foundation. Sign up to make a donation. Come to our events. Buy merchandise. All of this helps us to support children in underserved communities. You can buy products from House of Penda or the Phoenix Project, or even just interact with our content. It will mean the world to us. Be kind and do good. Talk to you next week. Bye.